You will never let go of your ex as long as you're doing this thing that we're going to talk about in this video. It's something that I've done, that 100% of my clients have done, and I see it all the time. And as long as you're doing this, you'll never give up the story. So before I get into this video, I'd like to let you know that I've got a new workshop coming up on the 14th of April called How to Stop Losing Yourself in Love. And it's for anybody who is chasing, who's been stuck in that cycle of overgiving and losing yourself, not being you and not being able to be fully you in a relationship with somebody that you really want to be in a relationship with. You want to be yourself, but you can't. And being able to interrupt that pattern by seeing what is happening for you and for the other person, and then being able to go forward in a way where you're going into a relationship to love rather than to get love, so that you can actually be who you are, and then all of your relationships will improve. So if you want to come to that workshop, it is £27. It's on the 14th, and it's a real deep dive into a topic that I have researched so much and want to help you with this terrible pattern that keeps you really stuck in relationships. But one of these things that I want to talk about in this video is about the pattern of focusing on what is going on for your ex. Okay, so this is something that all of my clients do. They come to me and they say, so I was in this relationship with this person, and they might spend nearly all of a session before I interrupt them talking about what is going on for their ex, why they're avoidant, looking at them, their history, their life, their upbringing, and the things that made them avoidant. And this is actually you avoiding the loss, you avoiding grief, okay? And it's easier to do that. It is honestly easier to think about and process why they are the way that they are than to think about what led you to staying with somebody like that, okay, that had this patterning, that was avoidant, that shut down, that maybe had problematic ways of dealing things in relationships. Everything changed for me whenever I really took my power back and stopped thinking about what was wrong with them, or why they are the way they are, or why they could heal, should heal, and what was going on for them, and really started thinking about, well, what made me stay? And I remember, honestly, I used to have these conversations with an ex of mine where I used to be like, look, what I'm saying is not unreasonable. Everything I'm saying, it makes sense. I'm asking you really for the bare minimum. And I was really reflecting on those conversations where I was like really trying to explain why, the conversations that I was asking for, the accountability that I was asking for was really valid and true. And it was. But what was really a problem was that I was asking somebody who literally was showing me over and over and over again that they didn't want to do that. And so all I was doing was banging my head against a brick wall. And like I've described in other videos, the more you stand there saying, look, hey, this is why my feelings matter. This is why I matter. This is why this is important for us to do so that we can have a healthy relationship. You're literally standing there like an open target waiting to be shot. I said this in another video. The more you do that, the more wounded you will become, because you're asking the same person who showed you, I don't want to do this, to do it, and trying to convince them. And the reason why we do that is because of our history, our patterning. And isn't it more important that we look at that than look at them? Because we're the ones doing that. In a way, we are perpetuating an anxious and avoidant dance by still showing up in the dance in the way that we show up. And I know how confusing this is, because you can have all the sense and the logic and the understanding in the world, and you can be right about it. But if you're still asking somebody who doesn't want to do it, then that, we have to turn the lens back on you and go, why are you doing that? What's keeping you there? Why are you asking somebody who doesn't want to do something to do it? You are banging your head against a brick wall. And that is the exact point where you go, shit, why am I doing that? And it's not because you want to keep them. It's not because you desperately need them. It's because there's a part of you that believes that if you can get this person to do what you want them to do, take accountability, take responsibility, that you will feel whole and complete, and you'll feel loved, and you'll be able to go, oh, good, I am good enough. Like, there's a part of you that's got some unconscious drive that thinks that the resolution to this is through this person. And what you're doing with that is you're giving them all of your power, all of your power to be complete within yourself, you're handing over to them. And it's an absolute game changer when you stop looking at them, and you won't want to do it, because if you do this, it means facing loss and grief and being wrong. Like, it means you saying, I thought I was right about this person. I thought this person was my person. I thought this person could do it. And it feels really horrible to say to yourself, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they can't. But it sets you free, and it stops you banging your head against the wall. And this isn't to say, again, I have to add nuance into this because every situation is different. People do change. People can change. Relationships evolve. But the real telling sign of if you're abandoning yourself, if you're losing yourself, if you're doing this thing that I'm talking about here, is when you feel exhausted and you're telling all your friends and you're tired and you're not getting anywhere and you feel so frustrated and you start feeling confused because, you know, what you're saying, it does make sense. It does make sense. Yes, it does make sense. But it's just that someone who's listening to it, the person who's listening to it, doesn't want to hear it. You know? So it's being able to see, well, there's nothing wrong with what I'm saying and what I'm asking for. It's just that the person that I'm asking doesn't have the capacity. It means too much for them. It means a change that they're not willing to make. It means admitting that they're wrong. But the place where you can't expect someone to change if you're not willing to change, you know, and you have to be able to pull your energy back and say, okay, yeah, I'm doing something here too. This is my part. This is where I'm going wrong here. This is where I am literally perpetuating this cycle, this anxious avoidant dance. And it's really weird because you start feeling like, oh, I feel weird now. If I'm not doing that, then I just have to give up. Is that it? And actually, yeah, you are giving up on that dynamic. It can't work anyway. But the way that you get authentic relationships is when you don't have to do that. When you don't have to bang your head against a brick wall and be an open target waiting to be shot. You don't have to do that with someone who's safe. But in your psyche, in your patterning, you did. You did have to. You didn't know any better, though, did you? Because this is the way you were brought up somehow, where you had to prove that you were good enough. You had to prove, you had to convince people, you had to make your feelings matter somehow. You were shouting, screaming all your life, trying to be important, trying to matter. And a lot of the time, we've grown up with around people who gaslight us. So that's why it feels like you're screaming and no one can hear. But it will feel like that with somebody who's not willing to listen. So your responsibility now is in being able to go, I'm not doing that anymore. My feelings matter, and I will surround myself with people who make that, like, reflect that back to me. Otherwise, I can't be myself. You will abandon yourself over and over and over again the more that you do this. When we're chasing, we're abandoning ourselves. Every time we're choosing someone who's not choosing us, we're leaving ourselves. And that makes us less and less and less of ourselves. And then we get more and more confused. It's a big, tangly web that we get caught up in. And the only way out is to say, I surrender, actually. I'm not going to try and convince you. And I'm just going to sit with how that feels, and there'll be grief there. And it's kind of like, honestly, it's like training for a marathon and then being told that it's cancelled. And it's exhausting because you've put in so much effort into this thing, and it feels like it comes to nothing. But what comes out of this is you, the you that you want to be, the relationships and the people that you need and deserve in your life. So I hope this video has given you a bit of a light bulb moment. I know it's really confusing, conflicting, confronting, actually, to hear this maybe, and either you're ready to hear it or you're not. But if you are ready to hear it, that's amazing, because life's about to change and get so much better. You're about to create the most incredible relationships in your life with your friends, your family, everybody, when you take responsibility for how you show up in them. This is all about radical self-responsibility. It's all we've got, because we don't have the power to control other people. But when we change, the world changes. If you'd like any more information about what I do, if you'd like to dive into this more with me in my workshop, How to Stop Losing Yourself in Love, you can find all the information about that in the links below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.